Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Midwest Ag This Week. I'm Stu Ellis. I'll be doing the chores for you today. Because the grain markets, a lot of elevators are in critical financial condition, and we'll find out why. Will Ukrainian farmers plant corn this spring? You'll hear one give a positive answer. We'll go horseback riding, learn how to make a Central Illinois brew, and celebrate a special day starting right now.
Welcome to Midwest Ag This Week with host Stu Ellis.
Well, that special day of the year coming up soon, March 22nd, National Agriculture Day, with a lot of festivities focused in Washington, D.C., and leading the national event is none other than Growmark's Amy Bradford.
It really is an honor to be able to chair this committee and be able to communicate about agriculture and all the things that we have going on in D.C. on March 22nd.
How did you get involved in this?
Well, I'm part of, it's called the Agricultural Council of America, and our primary goal is to increase awareness about agriculture in society and the world, and the value that it brings to everyone, and what farmers and agribusinesses do to produce food, fuel, and fiber. And one of the main activities we do is this National Ag Day event in Washington, D.C. on the 22nd of March.
What do you have planned?
We have a lot planned. In fact, we're actually extending the activities to the 21st and the 22nd. We have all kinds of equipment, farm machinery equipment, lining the mall in Washington, D.C. We will have people from all of those companies on hand to talk to people who come through the exhibits about the role of the machinery and then how agriculture plays a part in that.
Okay. Speakers and festivities and birthday cake or whatever?
Well, there will be some festivities. We believe that USDA Secretary Vilsack will sign a proclamation for National Ag Day. That would be on Tuesday, the 22nd. And then we will have some other programming there as well from USDA. We're also having a virtual component. So we have a virtual component that will include students and what they're doing on National Ag Day. They are doing some lobbying of their elected officials. Will be a virtual situation. We also have the Ag Day contest winner, essay contest winner, who's going to talk. National Outstanding Young Farmer will be there on hand. And then National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, Ted McKinney, they're putting together a panel that will be part of that virtual programming. So that all starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and if you just go to agday.org, you can get all those details.
An exciting day, and Amy brings so much to the table for that. Relatively new federal and state laws call for policy to be implemented in the next 8 years designed to preserve 30% of U.S. natural resources. A new state commission has been formed to address that in Illinois. One of the members is Austin Omer, Associate Director of Natural Resources Policy for the Illinois Farm Bureau.
Yeah, so the concept of 30 by 30 is to conserve 30% of the nation's land and water by the year 2030. And we specifically have here in Illinois, the Illinois 30 by 30 Task Force Act, which was approved last year and signed into law. The act actually requires us to have listening sessions to hear feedback from the public. And so what that entails is last week we had the first of our listening sessions, and it was focused on the agriculture sector. And what that was is an opportunity for the public to weigh in on this effort and give us feedback on some key areas, specifically what existing state resources we have to obtain this goal, what private lands conservation efforts are happening throughout the state, and also what kind of public-private partnerships can be made toward achieving this goal. And lastly, again, focused on hearing from the public what some strategies for obtaining this goal could be. And so what we heard from the public last week during the first listening session is we heard a lot about the existing conservation strategies and also conservation projects which are happening throughout the state of Illinois.
Some farmers who are listening to this may think, well, what are they going to make me do now? Is that a concern of yours?
Not to date, no. So the federal 30 by 30, the America the Beautiful report, recognizes the importance of private property rights and also including working lands conservation efforts in this tallying and as far as toward meeting that 30 by 30 goal. And we're seeing that echoed at the state level as well. In our first task force meeting, that was highlighted as far as the importance of recognizing private property rights, and then also the importance of accounting for private lands conservation, which a lot of our members here at Illinois Farm Bureau are focused on conserving portions of their land.
No snow on that field that you just saw,
Correct.
but there's some snows out on the fields now.
Yeah, we had that cold front that came through the other day and definitely brought a little bit of some snow and some cold weather to the area, but the good news is it's just going to be just for a day or so, and then it's going to be warming up.
It's spring. It's time for short-term snow.
Correct. And it's really not going to be lasting from here much longer. In fact, as look at the snow depth, you can see across the state of Illinois and a lot of the Midwest, there's not very much snow on the ground. The amounts are very light, and this will be gone over the next few days as temperatures begin to rebound, going back up into the 50s and even the 60s. Chances of precipitation from here on out there are also pretty low, looking at maybe a few rain showers coming through parts of the state of Illinois, coming in by Monday night, and then maybe again by the end of the work week next week. But for the most part, though, we are looking at a fairly dry and fairly quiet forecast. The cold front that came through that brought the snow is actually going to be quite the snowmaker across New England as we go throughout the rest of the weekend and into early next week. And that low eventually goes off into the North Atlantic, with us looking at a lot of sunshine here, especially as we go into the later parts of the weekend and into early next week. The warmer temperatures will be here. A chance for some spotty rain showers will be mainly in the southern part of the Great Lakes areas. So looking at more southern Illinois going into central Illinois being pretty spotty, southern Indiana. Most of that low, though, will actually stay farther to the south of us and eventually will begin to creep up the eastern seaboard later on next week. But high pressure for the most part in pretty good control across a lot of the Midwest for this week. That means that we can expect fairly quiet weather until, like I said, probably the end of the work week. By Friday or so, there will likely be a low passing by that will give us a chance for some rain, but our temperatures will be on our way up. Precipitation forecast for this week really is picking up on a lot of that rain that would be coming in next Friday. So that could be potentially 1 to maybe 1.5 inches worth of rain, which would obviously be good for spots, especially in the northwestern part of the state where things are still a little bit dry up there. But for the most part, though, we do have a pretty quiet week this week with mild temperatures as we expect to get into the 50s on Sunday and then eventually 50s and 60s for a lot of next week. You'll see, though, that our 8 to 14-day outlook, Stu, still trending warmer than normal for a lot of the mid part of March. And in terms of the precipitation, looks to be pretty normal for us.
Probably no planting of early soybeans this week, maybe next week then.
Yep, if we can get some dry weather here, that's definitely a possibility.
All right, Jack, thank you much.
Yep.
We're going to check your elevator's bank account right after this.
Welcome back to Midwest Ag This Week.
Grain elevators are currently under extreme financial pressure due to the need to borrow money to cover margin calls on required hedges of high-priced grain. And according to a longtime grain elevator manager, Jerry Rowe, now retired, he tells us all about how it works.
We've had such a big run-up in the market that there's been companies so far. I talked to one the other day that has doubled his. He went from 60 million to 120 million. I talked to another one that went from 40 million to 75 million. And this is an issue of available capital and being able to extend your lines. We haven't even seen yet where we've got a lot of new crop purchases. New crop purchases are financed differently than the grain itself because you get to bring in your gains and losses of your futures contracts and your cash contracts with the farmers. So if the market goes up $2 on new crop corn, you have to cover the whole $2 at the Board of Trade. But if it doesn't cover 100% of your gains in your purchase contracts, only 80% of your gains. So for every $2 move in new crop, you only get to borrow $1.60 against it. And if you start to buy 2023 crop, none of your gains in that are allowed to go as on the what's called a borrowing base report, none of those gains are used as collateral for your seasonal line. So we haven't hit yet on lots of new crop purchases for the fall of 2022 or 2023. But there's a general concern out here that the same thing will happen as what happened in 2008, where we just flat ran out of money and we couldn't bid for cash prices anymore. If you start to see them go to basis only, you know things are starting to run out of money.
And that's between the elevator manager, his banker, and how it all works. Farmers here are 4 to 6 weeks from planting. So are farmers in the Ukraine. And while we will see the devastation in Ukrainian cities, a Ukrainian farmer named Konstantin says he's confident his crops will get planted. He told that to a Macon County Farm Bureau group on a Zoom call several days ago.
So do you think that Ukrainian farmers will be planting a crop this year, even if the war is going on? Yes.
100%, yes.
And even with the infrastructure destroyed, think about how will this crop get to the Black Sea in order to be shipped to sell?
We have a lot of seeding material in Ukraine. We are understanding it's not only corn can be planted. It's no problem. So soybeans, we have huge quantity of soybeans which we can plant. Even if we don't have corn, no problem. Good on it and ready to help farming. And we will install this front tank for liquid and put their diesel to give possibility to make it special gas station in the field. Something like this.
Konstantin may be confident, but Dave Chatterton of Strategic Farm Marketing is not as confident.
When we look into that situation, Ukraine is responsible for 16% of global corn exports. So there's only really 3 big areas to go for corn exports in the world. There's South America, primarily Brazil, of course the U.S. here, and then there's the Black Sea region. So with Ukraine, the 4th largest exporter of corn in the world, 16% of overall exports, they're on the same planning or production cycle that we are. So 4 to 6 weeks from now, just like the U.S. farmers, they want to be able to go plant their crop. The question would be, the corn areas in Ukraine are directly south of Kyiv. That's a very hot military zone. We've seen the videos on, the social media of tanks rolling and troops rolling through and different things. So how much of that crop is actually going to get planted? Or maybe the better question is how many of those acres could actually be lost, if you will.
We'll have to see. And just a few moments ago, before the program was recorded here, President Zelensky says he's pretty sure a spring crop is going to be planted. How about that, Kurt Kimmel? That's
producer being optimistic, just like here in the USA. That's great news. It's going to be the challenge to get it in. Hopefully they do. Then the challenge is going to be able to ship it out also. That's
right. They've lost a tremendous amount of infrastructure, and so we'll have to see. It takes a lot. It takes roads and trucks and a lot of derricks and elevators at the port of Odessa to get that Ukrainian corn off to a Black Sea route.
Yeah, mainly wheat. That's what we've been talking about. And to go with your earlier comment of the elevators, if you look at the wheat chart here, we've seen wheat just explode to the upside here, limit. And the thing is, it rallied from $8.50 over to this $13.60. That's about a $5 move. It's a 5,000 bushel contract, and that each dollar is $5,000. So a $5 move is $25,000 just on one contract. So if you're short, got some hedges on, it's been real painful. But once the market started trading and they let the people out, the market came straight back down by $3. That's $15,000. So we had a $40,000 move in wheat in just this few weeks here.
All right. Kurt, we've got you got a soybean chart here, I think. Total production, where are we? Are we coming short of beans?
Well, when you look at the world supply-demand balance sheet on the soybean side of the equation there, we're still trying to figure out that South American crop. Brazil continues to be down there in that 127 million metric ton area. We could be a little shorter than that, but don't give up on the bull and the bean yet, because that crop comes in a little smaller. We still got large world vegetable oil market demand that needs to be met.
We've got a crop report coming up at the end of the month, and we've got a lot of opportunity between now and then to push and pull on everything.
Oh, a lot of moving parts. Have a plan and have a good banker if you're hedging.
That's right. Kurt, good to see you. We'll be visiting with you in a few more weeks. And we're going to be going horseback riding right after this. If you're around the state fairgrounds last weekend, the Illinois Horsemen's Council put on a great horse fair at the state fairgrounds. And horse owners from many states were there participating in a lot of judging contests, exhibitions, filling the exhibit building completely full of horse paraphernalia. Paula OBrien is the current president of the Horsemen's Council of Illinois. That name should be familiar. She's following in the footsteps of her father, Paul OBrien. So she's a second-generation president of the Horsemen's Council. One of those many building blocks of Illinois agriculture is the Horsemen's Council of Illinois. Paul OBrien of Chatham is the president of the Horsemen's Council, and you have an amazing event here at the State Fairgrounds.
Thank you, we do. This is our 30th year, the Illinois Horse Fair, and this is our major fundraiser as well as our educational program for the professionals as well as the amateur and the new people that wish to become horse owners.
Well, tell me what the Horsemen's Council of Illinois is.
We are a horse organization where we lobby on the state and local municipalities to maintain the horse lifestyle that we all enjoy our horses with, and in order to keep it going.
Okay, so if I were to ask what you do, it's primarily a lobbying organization?
And educational, and we do education, lobbying, in order so that people have access to various pieces within the state of Illinois of laws and services that are available to horse owners.
Okay, now why is that important? Sounds like that there's a big horse industry in Illinois.
There is. We used to be the third largest horse owning state in the union, and we're about fifth currently. But our recreational riders are very, very active, and they travel to all the state parks within this state and camp and ride the trails and enjoy their horses in the outdoors.
Well, it sounds like a lot of freedom. Now, you mentioned lobbying. Are there anything in the Illinois legislature pending this spring?
Not currently that we have anything on the docket. We are working towards a Working Animal Protection Act, which allows us to have events like this and keep where we can compete horses and enjoy them and do that, and racing, and just like the dogs when they do field trials and stuff, it allows us to continue that, and they're called Working Animal Protection Act.
So that's something that's pending in the...
It's in the works.
In the works,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Do other states have something
Yes,
like
there
that?
are. There's like 4 or 5 that currently have it.
Okay.
Because the animal rights people feel it's not wanting us to exhibit our horses and our different animals, and so by having the Working Animal Protection Act, that allows us to continue and keep some of their laws a little bit at bay.
All right, we appreciate Paula OBrien, the president of the Horsemen's Council of Illinois, joining us, and one of the major important factors of Illinois agriculture.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Come on back with a frosty mug. At the Ag Innovation Summit on Wednesday, Brandt Fertilizer of Springfield awarded a $10,000 prize to the Riggs Brewery of Urbana for agricultural innovation. Matt Riggs had worked with ACE's researchers on the best small grains to use for malting, and Carl Barnhart of Brandt said that was a key part of the decision on the Riggs selection.
We're honoring the legacy of our founder, G.B. Glenn Brandt. We lost him a couple of years ago, and we want to celebrate the innovation and the thoughtfulness and the entrepreneurism of ag in Illinois. So we put a prize together. It's $10,000. We're giving it away every year for that Illinois farmer who's bringing some idea to market and just needs a little bit of help getting it out there. Well, part of it is thinking about what crops to grow for the outcome that he's trying to get. That idea that he was talking about with the low oil inputs make better beer. That's the kind of thinking that comes along with this. Working with the U of I, with some of the faculty here on their small grains programs as well. So he's farming various kinds of small grains to see which ones make the better beers and which ones are more profitable.
You're working closely with University of Illinois small grains folks. What do they do? What do they bring to the table?
Well, they bring excellence in grain breeding that is custom tailored to our geography. The great thing about having the land-grant college here is that we're able to capitalize on their breeding program, the stuff that's working well for them, plant it in fields only miles away, where we also know it's going to work well. You know, we're using a U of I winter wheat variety that just agronomically is bulletproof. It's a rock star that came out of the U of I's breeding program here. And we're also using a really cool specialty low oil corn variety that was bred and developed here at the university. It's really a great tool to have in our own backyard here, having the university really help us custom make. And we have a little bit of influence now on what they're able to do to hopefully make malting quality grains in Central Illinois even better.
Well, as we were visiting with Kurt Kimmel just a moment ago, watch what's happening in Ukraine, because whether or not they get the crop planted could be either bearish or bullish to the market. So that's something that you want to watch this week. We appreciate you stopping by to visit with us for Midwest Ag This Week. I'm Stu Ellis, and inviting you back to join us next week, right at this same time. Thanks for watching.